My name's Sue. I live in Northamptonshire, in Northampton itself. My job is to make sure that the offender health agenda is taken forward. So that's to make sure, in order to reduce reoffending, because a lot of offending is based on people's mental health and how they're reacting to that, and to reduce something called health inequalities. So you've got offenders from the group of people who are least likely to access health services. You need to engage people. You need to be able to develop relationships with people. You need to be able to clearly explain an idea and a concept and why it's of benefit to people and themselves, to be able to bring people together to facilitate meetings and to ensure cooperation and joint working. I chose to go on the executive coaching course for my own personal development, but in quite a few areas really, because as I said to you before, I wanted to return to having a strategic post. And also the skills, coaching skills, are seen as an attribute at a senior level. So the executive coaching course is a bit about giving a new set of tools, if you like, in the armoury of being a manager and also taking forward your professional career. And I think what really appealed to me was for women. The scene was set on the first day. We were in this tiny little room in, I can't remember, Pentonville Prison. So it's not maybe, you wouldn't have thought most, I don't know, relaxed atmosphere. And I was a bit late and I walked into the course, there was all these women sitting round, and the facilitators, there were 3 there that day, lovely, lovely women, very, very skilled. And they'd asked each woman to prepare a collage. So they've got lots of cutouts. It's like, back in play school, they had this huge piece of paper, and if you wanted to, they wanted you to basically describe your career journey, so the highs and the lows, and you could use different images to populate that. The exercise was supposed to take an hour. It took all day because once the women started getting talking, it was absolutely fascinating. I wish that you would have been there and filmed it, because you could have written a book, because everyone was like a chapter of a fascinating life. There was a woman there who'd been a spy. It was absolutely fascinating. She didn't tell us things, but just her whole career, how she'd got there and how she progressed, and all the things that women had experienced. And unfortunately, what came out there was some very extreme discrimination on various grounds, and also political. But it was just the way, and the humour in the room. We spent most of the time when we were laughing. I mean, you didn't want to cry. Some of the things the women had experienced were really quite traumatic, but it was very delivered with humour, and then with all these pictures going alongside, and that set the scene. The whole point of coaching is that somebody comes to you with a problem. So we spent the whole course rehearsing problems. We'd have to think of an issue. Well, that can be quite personal, so you actually do need to feel quite safe. But having set that scene from the start, we all felt quite safe. So you're spending a lot of time in the course rehearsing, some being a coach, some being a coachee, somebody bringing a problem, somebody coaching them through what that issue is, what they wanted to resolve, and some being observer. But it all meant we felt comfortable to share and also to make those observations. And I think what struck me was how careful people were when they made the observations, because of course you have to be very mindful of what you're saying to somebody. And sometimes it can be quite uncomfortable. I actually had to go for an interview one of the days. So I had to come to London, do the course for a couple of hours, then get on a train and go to the interview for the job I've got now. And I'd failed all my last interviews. So I'd always been second or like a point away. So I was feeling quite sort of unsure about this interview. So we were doing group coaching, so they all coached me on this, go through this interview. So the interview was a breeze because I had a group of 6 women sitting around me, but it was people quite direct with what they said about the things that, so it's quite an uncomfortable process, but you felt comfortable to expose yourself. You were willing to do that just because the scene that had been set, and you felt you were with like-minded people who understood the journey that you'd taken to get there, that you could actually take the knocks and the bruises. So in that, it was a very, very, I got out of it much more than I thought I was going to. Much more. Yeah, I would say that it's really important that people have access to the women at work. I think it's absolutely vital that women who have the same advantages to actually move into the labour market and up through the labour market, because whether we like it or not, there's still discrimination because of women's requirements for childcare. I think it's important they have access to the training and the skills, because I think they have a lot to offer in the employment market.